My name is Dejorn Goldsmith, and I didn't come to teach manifestation because it was a trend. I came to it because I was fighting for my life and because of everything I had learned before had failed. And for years before getting sick, I'd already studied ancient Indian Vedic texts. And these are not self help modern writings written in the last 50 years. These writings go back thousands of years, some dated over 5,000 years ago, and they explore consciousness, the nature of God, and the laws that shape existence. And I was fascinated how the similarity was between that some of the ideas and some of them that sounded similar to people like Neville Goddard and Joseph Murphy and Florence Scovel Shinn and what they were teaching. But I also saw where the modern world had twisted those ideas into shortcuts that just simply didn't work. And then came the early part of 2023, and doctors found a growth in my body. And I thought that I could fix it by myself. I believed that if manifestation was real, then surely I could heal through thought alone. And I left it far too late, according to the doctors. When I finally agreed treatment, my immune system was already wrecked, and the outlook, it wasn't good. And chemotherapy, it hit me hard. There were nights when I would lie there, head in a bucket, and just wonder if this was how it was going to end. And sometimes even part of me hoped for peace, just to stop the fight. But then I'd think about my mother, and she's lived with multiple cirrhosis since I was a child. I'm now nearly 50. And I'd see her try to think every possible positive thinking technique and every manifestation exercise out there. None of them worked. And I didn't want her to bury her only son. And my aunt, her sister, she'd already buried one of hers, and I wasn't going to let that happen again. I'd also just come out of a 4-year relationship where I was being used. I was working full time. I was paying for everything. I was cooking, cleaning, holding everything together whilst being lied to and used. And the relationship before that one, that was no better. 15 years of just going wrong and money slipping through my fingers, health breaking down. Every part of my life was out of sync. So when I was lying in that bed, weak, I realized that I had two choices. I accept this was it, or I'd go back to what I'd studied years ago, those ancient Vedantic texts, and look again. And this time, everything was on the line. And I wanted to understand life and death and the soul and God and how creation actually works. And while I was reading, I saw it clearly. And Neville Goddard and those who had come after him, they found something real. They were right about imagination creating reality. They were right about that. Consciousness is the cause, but they left something out. They left out the part that actually makes it work. And modern teachers and influencers today, they've copied their words without understanding the structure underneath. It's like everybody has been cooking the same soup, but leaving out the salt. The foundation is there, but it's flat, it's tasteless. There's nothing real to enjoy. Now, this might sting a little to hear, but The truth is, imagination on its own is not enough. Affirmations on their own are not enough. And visualization on its own is not enough. And I know this. I know this because I tested them all. I repeated the words. I followed the routines. And I believed as hard as I could, and still nothing happened, nothing stuck. And what I found through my studies, my illness, and my own experiments is that manifestation isn't a technique. It's a system, a living, moving system that has to be stable from the inside out. Like Neville Goddard, he showed us the door, but he didn't give us the key to open it, especially when life pushed us back. And the Vedantic teachings, they did. They spoke about steadiness and mastering the mind, so it stops shaking. About focused attention that doesn't drift when emotions change. About learning to stay calm even when your outer world looks like chaos. And that steadiness is what I later called stabilization, or what I now call coherence inside manifestation mechanics. And in this video, I'm going to explain what that means in simple language so that anyone can use it. Okay, let's start with coherence. Coherence means that every part of you, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, they move in the same direction long enough for the universe to catch up. And I'll also show you how to practice it step by step using something called gazing, or drishti, as it's known in the ancient Indian texts. And you'll see how it connects with what Neville described as feeling it real, and how the Bible refers to it when it says the lamp of the body is the eye. By the end of this video, I'll take you through the whole process so you can apply it to anything: health, love, money, whatever matters to you. But you can't skip ahead. Everything between now and that guided section at the end will give you the foundation that you need to make it work. So stay with me and listen carefully. Don't just hear my words. Understand what's behind them. Because when you see the full picture, you'll understand why the methods that have failed for years will actually start to finally work. So forgive me if I have to turn to my notes from time to time. I have this set out in a structure that will make it easy to learn. And I need to stay on track for you to be able to get to grips with this, and to be able to see the full picture and hear exactly how the system works, how it really works. So now that you understand where all of this began for me, we need to talk about why so many people still fail with manifestation, even the ones who believe that they're doing everything right. And most people come into this thinking that manifestation is a single action. They think if they say the right words or they imagine the right picture, then the universe is just going to hand them what they asked for. And that's the problem. They think it's a transaction. It's not a transaction. Reality is translating what you are, not what you say you want. And deep down, you know this. How many times have you asked for or imagined what you want and you've not got it? And when you look around, you'll see this everywhere. People repeat affirmations every morning, but inside they feel small or stuck or trapped. They picture wealth while still carrying a guilt about money. And visualize love without, or while still expecting to be left on their own or betrayed. The signal is just all mixed up. And the universe mirrors that right back at them. And this is why I keep saying that imagination, emotion, and words are just tools. They don't create anything by themselves. They simply broadcast what you're being in that moment. Now, this might sting a little, but the truth is most people don't even know who they are being. They don't know really what they want, and they don't know what they're vibrating as. And that's where coherence comes in. Coherence is not really a complicated word. It just means that it's in agreement. When you're coherent, everything inside just lines up. Your thoughts, your emotions, your energy, and your actions, they all speak the same language. When you are incoherent, you send out one message with your mouth and another with your emotions. And the universe can't interpret that. It doesn't hear your words. It reads your state of being, your state. Neville Goddard said, "Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled." And that was brilliant. But what he didn't explain was how to hold that assumption when life throws the opposite in your face. Because when the bill lands or the test results arrive or someone leaves you, the assumption collapses unless you've built stability to hold it. And that stability is what the Vedantic texts talk about. The steadiness of mind, training the consciousness so it doesn't shake when the outer world shakes. They described it thousands of years ago. And it's not positive thinking. It's a discipline of awareness. So let me tell you what happens when you become coherent and life becomes predictable, not because you control it, not you control it like a machine, but because you finally stop contradicting yourself. You stop saying that I want whilst behaving as though you don't deserve it. You stop asking for love whilst you're living like you're alone. You become consistent. And when you are consistent, reality has no choice but to reflect consistency. Now, to those of you that are watching who are new to this channel, if this is your first video, then I highly recommend that after this video that you go back and you start from the very first video that I uploaded. I've built these video teachings in order so that each one connects with the next. And if you watch them in sequence from the first one to this one and then watch this one again, so you can fully understand how to manifest money, health, love, and anything that you desire. But if you've been following, then you already know this next part. But it helps that I repeat it because repetitiveness helps for it to finally sink in. So let's talk about the 4 pillars, which are state, imagination, emotion, and action. Now, all of those, they do depend on the 5th element, which is stabilization. And there are less than a handful of people in the world that are talking about this. Because so many modern day influencers and so-called teachers are just reciting so-called techniques that they know nothing about. They haven't studied this in detail. They were lucky that they accidentally aligned and were coherent enough to manifest a few things into their life, but they couldn't teach it properly because they don't understand the structure. And this is why there are billions of people around the world, still years later, clinging on to hope, still doing daily affirmations, thinking that maybe one day it'll all work out. They're thinking, maybe I'm just broken. Maybe I'm meant to learn a lesson here. You know, they come up with all kinds of excuses. I did the same, of why manifestation is not working, in the hope that just one day soon, just hanging on to that last glimmer of hope. But they, you, and my past me, we were, and we are not broken. We'd just been given instructions that weren't full. We hadn't been given the full instruction manual. So let's get back to the topic of coherence, because once you understand coherence, then we can begin training with it, and not complicated rituals with endless affirmations, but with one simple thing that you do every single day. And that's the act of looking. And that's where gazing, or drishti, comes in. Now, I want to move from explanation into practice, just for a few minutes. Now, the full practice of the manifestations with all of the steps, that will happen by the end of this video. Because theory means nothing until you can actually feel it for yourself. Now, you've heard me use the word coherence throughout this video and others. I've explained what it means, that everything inside you is moving in one direction, but I want you to experience it. And to do that, we're going to use something so simple that most people overlooked it, and it's called gazing. Neville Goddard did cover this in one of his books. In the ancient Indian Vedic texts, gazing is known as drishti, which means a steady gaze. It appears in yoga, in meditation, even in martial arts, where focus and steadiness are essential. And this isn't about staring until your eyes hurt. It's about learning to keep your attention still. Because where your attention goes, your energy flows. And when your attention stops shaking and flickering, your inner world stops shaking with it. Now, I'm going to place an image on the screen, and that image I want to be your point of focus. So, as you stare at it, look at it. Don't stare in a hard way. Just let your eyes relax. Imagine that you're looking through the image rather than right at it. You're not trying to analyze it or make any sense of the shapes or colors. Just look through it and behind it. Now, for some of you, that image, it may become slightly blurry. For others, it might seem to flicker or to split into two. And that's completely fine, because that means that your eyes are beginning to relax, and that your inner attention is just starting to settle. And if you feel the need to blink, then blink. Don't fight it. And with practice, the impulse to blink will ease. But forcing stillness is not the goal. The goal is just relaxed, focused. And as you breathe naturally, just keep your gaze gentle and soft. And the moment you notice your eyes wanting to wander, just bring them back. And you'll find that every time that you return to that image, something inside of you becomes calm and relaxed. Now, as you gaze, just start to become aware of your body and notice any tension in your face, your neck, and your shoulders. And just relax and just keep breathing. And after a few more seconds, just quietly ask yourself inside your mind, who am I being right now? You're not asking for information, you're just creating that awareness. Are you being the person who is waiting for change? Or are you being the person who already lives it? Because that question, held with a steady gaze, it begins to line up your thoughts, your feelings, and your physical body. It's subtle, but you'll feel it. Your breath, it evens out. And your chest, it feels lighter. And the noise in your mind just starts to slow down. This is coherence. It's the point where imagination, emotion, and physical presence agree with each other. Just stay here for a few more moments. Don't force anything. You're not making manifestation happen. You are training the mechanism that makes it possible. And when you practice this daily, your reactions to life begin to change. And you stop being thrown off by small events. And you respond instead of react. And you'll begin to notice that situations, they flow smoother, that opportunities start to appear. And what you've been asking for, it begins to move closer. If you practice this later, away from the video, choose something that's within an arm's length to look at. Like, don't use a plain wall. Your eyes need a distinct point or texture to focus. It could be a mark on a picture frame or corner of a candle holder, even a small ornament. All of them work well. Could be your thumb. What matters is that it is close enough to feel present, but not defined enough that your eyes can't rest on the one spot. This is resonance. when your inner signal is steady, reality aligns to it. So take your time and practice this whenever you can. Not because you're desperate for something, but because you're choosing alignment over noise. And this is how you start living manifestation instead of chasing it. What you've been practicing so far, the stillness, the breathing, the gazing, these are all ways to bring yourself into coherence. But coherence is the foundation. And there's a structure that sits on top of that foundation. And that structure is what I call the 4 pillars of manifestation mechanics. And once you understand these 4 pillars, you'll finally see why most manifestation techniques fail and how to align them instantly. So the first pillar is state. Your state is the invisible baseline of who you are being in any given moment. It's not what you say or what you want. It's the silent tone beneath everything that you do. Like if your state is anxious, like doubtful, distracted, or frustrated, then even the most beautiful affirmation won't work because the frequency beneath it is unstable. State is your foundation. It's how you feel in your body before you even open your mouth. It's how your nervous system broadcasts your signal to the world. And when you change your state, the entire field around you, it just starts to reorganize. But here's the key. You don't change your state by words alone. You change it by awareness, by noticing what is happening inside you and choosing not to follow the noise. That's what we've been doing through gazing. It stabilizes the nervous system and it resets the field. So to practice this, start small. When you notice there's a tension in your chest or your stomach, don't label it, you notice it. Breathe and let your attention reset. And you rest. Bring your attention to where it's tight. That simple noticing interrupts the pattern. And if you can bring your gaze into a fixed point, a spot on the wall, a nail, a corner of a box or a table, your thumbnail, anything still, and breathe until your body softens. And your goal is not to feel positive, it's to feel steady. And do this many times a day until steadiness becomes normal. The most important times to do this are before you go to sleep and when you wake up. But still, do it as many times as you can throughout the day, even if it's just for a few moments. The second pillar of manifestation mechanics is imagination. Now, imagination has been massively misunderstood. And people think that it means sitting down and picturing something over and over again until it appears. That's not manifestation or imagination. That is effort. Real imagination isn't about forcing an image into your mind. It's about receiving it. It's about letting the image that naturally arises in coherence show you where you're already heading. That's the difference between mental fantasy and creative intelligence. And when I was ill, I didn't sit there just visualizing perfect health every day. I allowed the image of my healed life to appear when my mind was calm enough to be able to see it. It wasn't something that I pushed. It was more like something that I noticed. And that's how imagination works when you're coherent. It becomes guiding and not guessing. And so to practice imagination correctly, remove the pressure to get every detail right. You don't need to picture the perfect car, the color of the car, the sports car, the layout of the mansion or beach house, the number of the on the bank screen, or the face of the person that you want to meet. You let the image just come to you like a memory that's already happened. Like in calm, the relaxed normality of living that life. And you'll find that the softer that you approach it, the clearer it becomes. And when imagination is effortless, that's when it's real. And the third pillar of manifestation mechanics is emotion. Now, this is where most people lose control of the process. And they try to feel a high vibration emotion. They force gratitude and they fake joy. But real emotion, it can't be faked. Emotion is the fuel of your signal to the universe. It's not a decoration on top of it. It's how the field universe responds to the depth of what you're broadcasting. If you're thinking that I'm wealthy, but deep down you're terrified of losing money, the universe does not respond to the words. It responds to the fear. Emotions must match imagination. Feeling and image have to move in the same direction. Does this make sense? I know you can understand this. When you let emotions rise naturally from your coherent state, it's clean, it's powerful and direct. And that's when you start to feel life respond. And people appear, opportunities surface, and energy just flows again. Now, to practice emotion, bring attention to what the desire truly represents. If you want a big house, what feeling does it promise? For many, it's freedom, space, safety. If you want more money, is it comfort, stability, confidence? If you want a loving partner, is it peace, connection, home? Let yourself feel that quality, not the object. Notice how wealthy people or fulfilled people act. They don't overthink what they already have. They simply accept. They accept that this is life for them. They don't jump out of bed shouting, "I'm wealthy!" or "I have the business of my dreams, the partner of my dreams." They just accept that this is life. They feel the comfort or safety or freedom or stability, comfort, whatever it is. It just comes through. It's just natural. And you do the same right now with your life. I mean, look at your current job or your situation, your home, the food that you might have in your kitchen. If somebody else would dream of your life exactly as it is and wish that they had what you have. But you just accept that this is how life is for you. You accept it fully as this is your normal and those feelings that come with it. And the same quiet acceptance is how the next level of your life will feel. And you may feel grateful because you've come from not having your desires to having them, but it will be a quiet of acceptance of how things are now. Acceptance itself is the emotional tone that stabilizes every pillar. And the fourth pillar is action. And this is where we bridge the gap from the invisible to the visible. Action is how the field confirms your alignment. It's how the energy completes the circuit. And that doesn't mean hustling or grinding. It means moving in sync, in synchronization with what coherence is already guiding you to do. And then sometimes that means a conversation. And sometimes that means it's rest. Sometimes it's walking away. But it always feels clear, simple, and free from pressure. When I was rebuilding my health, the action wasn't dramatic. It was small. Eating clean, fresh food. Working when I could. Moving my body. Studying. Resting. But because those actions were aligned with my coherent state, they compounded. And that's what action does. It multiplies energy when it's coherent. And it drains when it's not coherent. Now, when these four pillars work together, state, imagination, emotion, and action, manifestation stops being a struggle. They form a closed loop. Your state gives rise to your imagination. Your imagination sparks emotion. And your emotion fuels your action. And action stabilizes your state. You see the loop? Even if one pillar is off, the entire structure just becomes unstable. But when all four of them are in rhythm, they amplify each other endlessly. And that's why people who are truly in coherence, they seem lucky. It's not luck. It's physics. Their loop is just complete. This is how consciousness turns into matter. In the Vedanta, the ancient Indian text, this was described through the cycle of Sankalpa to karma. Intention becoming action. And action becoming experience. And experience feeding back into consciousness. Modern science calls it feedback, much easier word. Same principle, different words. When you understand the four pillars, you no longer need endless techniques. You already know where your signal is breaking. If something isn't showing up, you ask yourself, is my state stable? Is my imagination clear? Are my emotions aligned? And is my action coherent with what I say I want? And when those answers are yes, then manifestation isn't something that you chase. It just becomes automatic. The loop stays stable and the signal stays clear. And reality finally catches up. That's the mechanics of the four pillars. And that's how you build a life that reflects who you truly are, not what you're trying to be. And now you understand the structure. We can finally move into motion. Because knowing these four pillars, that's one thing. Living them is what makes you magnetic. Now that you've experienced what coherence feels like, and you've learned about the four pillars of coherence for manifestation, we can start to talk about movement, action. I mean, real movement, not forced action, because this is the point that most people misunderstand. They think that manifestation is about sitting still until something happens. They believe that the universe is going to come knocking on their door and just hand them their dream. But the truth is that it moves when you move. It's not you pushing the world, and it's not the world pushing you. It's both of you just moving together in rhythm, in dance. When I was ill, I didn't sit there just repeating that I was healed. I started living as though life was worth protecting. I changed my food, my routines, my attitude towards work, my care for my body. And I didn't do those things because I was scared of dying. I did them because I believed that I would live. And that's the difference between acting from fear and acting from coherence. Fear-based action is noisy. Like you can feel it. That like rushed energy, that desperate energy that's underneath everything you do. But coherent action is quiet. It just feels like flow. You don't question it. You don't need to convince yourself of it. You just move. And when you reach coherence, the next step, it just appears naturally. You don't have to force it. You just notice. You notice that that's the right move. It's the right phone call to make. It's the right text message to send. It's the right opportunity to take. But here's what stops most people. They keep checking if it's working. They take a step and they look around for the results, and then they doubt themselves, and then they pull back. That's not movement, that's hesitation disguised as action. When you're coherent, you stop checking. You trust the movement of life itself. You trust that reality is already reconfiguring around your signal. Because it always does. It always has. It has to. It's what it does. Think of coherence like a steady heartbeat. When you're aligned, that rhythm just carries through everything. Your thoughts, your words, your choices, your posture, your tone. And that's when life starts to mirror your internal stability back at you. The ancient Vedantic texts describe this process as karma yoga. Is the action of one who no longer fights with themselves. And it doesn't mean religion or ritual. It means doing what needs to be done without resistance. You don't chase, you don't freeze, you move. Chasing, it comes from lack. Stillness without purpose, it comes from fear. But movement from coherence is different. It's clean. It doesn't drain you. It doesn't feel like effort. It feels like breathing. And that's what I want you to practice after this video. Not just the stillness of the gaze, but the quiet action that follows. And when something inside of you says, yes, move. And when something inside of you says, wait, then be still. And that's coherence guiding you. Not logic, not impulse, coherence. It's the same intelligence that aligns the planets, that grows the trees, that heals the body. And when you're coherent, you're part of that rhythm. So the next time that you feel uncertain, don't look outside for signals. Listen to the signal inside of you. If it feels calm, if it feels steady and it doesn't carry tension, then move. That means if your intuition then says, write that text, send that email, take that job interview, go for that business idea, make that phone call, move. That is the universe moving with you. And when you start moving from that place, you'll see it unfold everywhere. The right people, the right timing, the right circumstances, just all falling into place, not because you forced them, but because that you finally stopped contradicting yourself and sending mixed messages. And that's what it means to live from coherence. You stop reacting to the world and you start creating it through the state that you maintain. Now we've come to what I call the mechanics of reality. And this is where everything that you've learned so far, state, imagination, emotion, and action, and coherence, they all come together. You've heard people say, right, that everything is energy. And while that's true, most people just stop there, never actually explaining in a way that makes sense. So let's break it down in simple terms. You may know this already. Everything that around you, everything that you can see and touch is made of vibration. Vibration, a movement, different frequencies. Your body, your thoughts, your emotions, the chair that you're sitting on. The only difference between what feels solid and what isn't solid is at the rate at which it vibrates. Science has taught us that. Now, when you're in a state, your thoughts and your emotions, they're chaotic. The signal that you're putting out to the universe, to the world, is also chaotic. And you can think of it like static on a radio. That the station is there, the music is playing, but you can't hear it because the signal's not quite there. It keeps cutting out. When you're coherent, that signal just becomes clear. And the music of your reality, it starts to come through. And you begin to experience a clean reflection of what you're sending. And that's how manifestation actually works. It's not random, it's feedback. Neville Goddard said, "Your world is yourself pushed out." And that's true. But if your self is made up of fragmented signals, doubt in one moment and belief in another, maybe fear a second later, what gets pushed out is mixed. And what comes back to you is confusion. So here's where we connect it to physics. In the physical world, frequencies are similarly aligned. They synchronize, and the universe works exactly the same way. When your internal signal is coherent, it starts to align with external patterns that match it. And that's why you'll start noticing coincidences and opportunities. and people who fit your new reality. It's not magic, it's resonance. Your stable inner frequency begins to pull compatible experiences towards it, whilst repelling those that don't match. In Vedanta, this was described as Rita, R-I-T-A, Raita, I think. It's the order of memory with the alignment of the inner and the outer worlds. The principle is the same in the Bible. As within, so without. And this is where timing comes in. When your inner signal is inconsistent, your manifestations, the delayed. You say one thing today, the opposite tomorrow. The field just doesn't know what to match. But when you maintain coherence long enough, reality doesn't have a choice. It has to meet that signal. And that's not belief. That's just how energy behaves. So when something that you desire it isn't showing up, it's not because it's impossible. It's because your signal isn't steady yet. You're tuning the frequency, but then you keep moving the dial. And this is why the gazing practice, the stillness, and the small aligned actions, they matter. They stabilize your vibration. They make your signal strong enough for reality to be able to catch it. And you can test this for yourself. Think back to times when things just seemed to flow, when events lined up without effort. You were probably calm, you were clear, you were confident, and that's coherence. And now think about a time when everything just went wrong, when nothing seemed to work, and you were likely scattered, you were doubtful, or you were trying too hard. That is incoherence. Nothing external changed, only your internal rhythm did. And that's why I tell people, just stop asking, when will it happen? And instead you start asking, am I steady enough for it to find me? Reality is not waiting for you to prove your worth. It's waiting for you to stabilize your signal. And once that happens, the feedback loop, it just begins. And remember, this is how the loop works. Remember this. Your internal state sends a signal. The field mirrors it back as people, events, and circumstances. You react to that reflection. Your reaction reinforces or changes your signal. And then the cycle repeats. Now, most people, they keep reinforcing the same feedback without even realizing it. They see lack of something and they react with fear, broadcast fear. And then they keep receiving that back. Do you see the loop? When you learn coherence, that loop, it changes. You begin to respond instead of react. The reflection stabilizes and life just evens out. And this is the part that modern manifestation teachers never explain. They talk about faith and vibration, but they don't teach stability. And without stability, you'll never build that momentum that you need for manifestation. But once you do, everything just begins to compound. the changes that you make today, they start stacking onto the ones that you made yesterday. And then soon your entire field shifts. And that's the real mechanics of manifestation. Not hope, not luck, not waiting for signs. It is signal stability. Keep your state coherent, your focus consistent, your actions aligned, and the feedback that you'll get from reality will start matching what you've been asking for. Precisely, consistently, and naturally. And that's when you finally understand how consciousness becomes matter. Now that you understand the 4 pillars and you've felt coherence in stillness, this is where it becomes real. This is where you live it. Coherence isn't something that you visit during a meditation once a week. It's a frequency that you carry while the world around you keeps moving. Every moment of your day is an opportunity to either confirm your coherence or collapse it. You don't hold a perfect state forever, but you learn to return to it faster. And that's what mastery is. It isn't perfection. It's recovery. When you wake up tomorrow, don't begin with affirmations. Start with awareness. Notice the weight of the morning before thought arrives. Breathe and remember what state that you want the foundation of the day to be. Don't try to feel high vibrations, just steady. And let your breathing find its rhythm. Let the body settle. And that's your baseline for the day. And then when you move into your day, everything becomes a test of that steadiness. When you open that email and you see a bill, can you hold the same state? When someone cuts you off in traffic, can you breathe? When someone disagrees with you, can you stay in clarity rather than be in defense? This is coherence in motion. Each small moment is like that, where manifestation can either collapse or completes. And if your signal changes every time that life tests you, that field gets confused. But if you stay steady, you teach reality who you are now. You teach it what frequency that you desire it to match. Let's say that you're working on manifesting more wealth. You check your bank balance. It's lower than expected or you hoped. Now, normally the mind may go into panic, scarcity, worry, thinking it's not working. In that moment, don't try to rush to fix it. Just close your eyes, breathe, and remember the feeling of safety that you practiced in the emotional pillar. You are training your nervous system to recognize abundance, even when the numbers in front of you are disagreeing. And that's how manifestation stabilizes. And the same applies to relationships. Maybe that you're manifesting a loving partner and someone new hasn't appeared yet. Instead of sliding back into loneliness, use the time to become the emotional state that love creates. Calm, patient, open. And that energy draws the right person that you've already become. That environment that love needs to exist in. And health, it works the same way. When your body feels off, you don't fight it. You stay in coherence. You breathe through it. You feel the body well. And you rest when needed. Action is still a part of this. You still keep moving in ways that will honor what you are creating and not what you fear. That's the real test. Doing what is aligned when nobody else is watching. No pretending, no faking, no pretend gratitude. Just living the truth quietly and naturally. And that's what sends the clearest signal possible. And sometimes you'll forget. You'll lose your state. You'll react. You'll doubt. Good. Because that's part of the training. And each time that you notice, you are building awareness. Each time you come back, you are building strength. It's not about how long you stay coherent. It's about how fast you return. It's the recovery. And when you live this way, you start noticing small shifts at first. My video paused then. It was a bit longer than I thought this was going to be. But as I was saying, things around you change. Small opportunities, they open. Timing improves. They're not coincidences. They're confirmations. They're signs that coherence is now at last living through you. And if you keep living from that signal, then the larger manifestations, the health, the wealth, the love, they have no choice but to appear. They match what you've become. And the truth is, life will keep testing each pillar. Something will always show up to ask, are you really in that state? And the test isn't to stop you. It's there to stabilize you. Every time that you hold your signal steady, the field learns that this is your new normal. And that's how manifestation becomes permanent. You're not chasing results anymore. You are tuning reality. You're learning to live in the same coherence that creates worlds. And that's what manifestation mechanics is all about. It's not escaping life, but mastering it. Not pretending, but participating consciously in creation itself. This is the new way to live. Now that you've seen how to hold your state, how to live coherence throughout your day, I want you to understand what's really happening when you do. Because every coherent thought, every emotion, every stable action the field around you records it and it learns you. And most people just live in static noise, constant signals of fear, wanting, forcing, hoping. So their reality never actually knows what to send back. But when your signal becomes clear, that the field begins to remember you as a pattern of coherence, everything's in line. And that's when life stops being random. You more than likely noticed moments where just everything lines up. It's the right call, the right phone call, the right person, the right timings. And these moments are not luck. They're the world adjusting to your stable signal. Reality is a mirror. And sometimes it takes time to reflect what is the consistent signal. So the more that you live from coherence, the faster that your field recognizes that signal as your truth, and it starts matching you automatically. I'm trying to say this in different ways so everybody understands it. And this is the deeper law that ancient Vedantic teachers were describing thousands of years ago. That consciousness and creation are one movement. They're seen from two sides. When you stop fighting reality, reality will stop fighting with you. And the more consistent that you become, the more responsive the world feels. And that's when manifestation moves from effort to inevitability. You stop using it as a method and you start living it as your normal nature. Because coherence isn't something that you do. It's something who you are when all resistance dissolves. And this is where everything that we've talked about, state, imagination, and action, state, imagination, emotion, and action fuses into one single living intelligence. And you and the field are no longer separate. When I went through illness, I didn't just heal my body, I changed the way that reality responded to me. I started to see that even my cells were listening. Everything in existence responds to coherence. You don't have to shout your affirmations into the universe. You just have to live as the signal that the universe already understands. And this is why Neville Goddard, he came so close, and why so many teachers since have just missed it. They taught imagination is the key, but they stopped before coherence. They told you to think and feel feel it into being, but not to become the frequency itself. And that's the missing link. And when you become coherence itself, you no longer need to chase anything or claim anything. The field brings it to you because you are that match. You are the message and the receiver at the same time. And once you start to live like that, you'll see the patterns. You'll see that life itself is intelligent, that everything that you meet is a reflection, just showing you how aligned or unstable your current state is. Nothing is random. Every delay, every person, every moment, it's all feedback. The world is not testing you, it's tuning you. And when you realize that, you stop taking life personally. You stop blaming circumstances or other people, and you start to see that reality is not happening to you, it's happening through you. And when you live from that understanding, you step into the highest expression of manifestation mechanics. Conscious participation, not trying to control outcomes, not hoping for miracles, but living in harmony with the intelligence that creates worlds. That's coherence. That's the field remembering you. And now it's time to practice all the steps put together, because it is essential that you now that you've understood this, that you now experience it all coming together. So pause this video if you need and find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed, at least for the next few minutes. And sit comfortably and let your hands rest loosely. And just let your breathing slow, just naturally, without trying to force it. And allow the body to arrive. This is the practice of manifestation mechanics. Everything that you've learned, state, imagination, emotion, action, now lives through this moment. Just close your eyes or soften your gaze on a simple, single point in front of you. You don't have to stare. You're not trying to see anything. You're allowing your eyes to relax, almost as if you're looking through what's in front of you. Let the space between you and that point soften. This is the beginning of coherence. And now notice the breath as it moves just in and out. You're not controlling it. You're just observing the rhythm that was always there. And as you breathe, feel the body just loosen and relax. Let your shoulders drop. Relax the jaw, stomach. And this stillness is the first pillar. It's state. Let the nervous system just unwind. And if thoughts appear, just let them pass like birds in the sky. You don't chase them. You just return to steadiness. And now, without effort, just let an image naturally rise in your mind. Don't plan it. Don't build it. Just allow it to come in a way that memory comes. Maybe it's walking along a beach, laughing with somebody that you love, seeing your name on a door, holding a letter that changes your life. Whatever appears, just let it come without forcing any detail. You don't need that exact house, the car color, or the number on the bank account. You just need that sense of that life. It's space, it's calm, it's normality. This is the second pillar, imagination. Just stay in the feeling of already being there. Now notice what emotion rises with that image. It might be freedom, peace, safety, joy, love. Let it grow naturally without trying to make it stronger. Feel where it lives in your body, your chest, your stomach, your throat. And just breathe through that space. And if fear or doubt appear, include them, because they're only signals just leaving your system. Let the dominant feeling be calm acceptance, the quiet knowing of this is my life. That's the third pillar, emotion. Just stay there for a few more breaths. Now imagine yourself moving throughout the day from this coherent state. See your body acting with calm precision. Hear your voice, steady, confident. Feel yourself making small choices that match this version of you. Answering messages, walking, eating, working, all from the same frequency of calm certainty. That is the fourth pillar, action. It's movement that confirms who you have become. Hold the sense of the four pillars, just all working together. State, steady. Imagination, effortless. Emotion, clean. And action, aligned. Each one supporting the next, forming a single rhythm. Now bring your attention back to your breath and inhale slowly and exhale gently. Notice how still the mind feels, how open the body feels, and how natural this clarity is. You don't have to hold it tight. You just have to remember what it feels like. Because the more that you remember this coherence, the easier it will be to return to it anywhere, anytime. And let your eyes open softly or come away from the gaze. Take one final breath. And the practice is complete. But the state, it remains. And carry this into whatever you do next. You are now living coherence. If you've made it this far, then you already feel the shift. Something inside of you understands what we've been building through this video. Every moment of stillness, every word, you've begun to see the world not as something that happens to you, but as something moving with you. When I first began this work, I was fighting life. I was chasing results, health, love, money, peace, all as if they were outside of me. I wanted proof before belief, but that never worked. Only when I stopped demanding and started listening did everything begin to move. And now, standing here, alive, healthy, loved, fulfilled, abundant, I can tell you this with certainty. Manifestation is not a trick. It is the way that existence speaks to you when you finally quiet the noise. So let's look back on what you've learned here very quickly. You've learned that the state is the foundation, that steadiness is miles more powerful than positivity. And you've learned that imagination isn't about pretending. Not pretending at all. It's receiving the signal that's already waiting for you. And you've learned that emotion is not performance, but it is communication. It's the body's way of broadcasting coherence. And you've learned that action it's not effort. It's alignment. It's the world responding through your hands and through your feet. And you've learned that the field remembers who you've become, not what you say. Everything that you've practiced here, it leads to one truth. You are always creating. The question is, are you creating consciously or unconsciously? And once you begin to live with awareness, life itself starts to cooperate, and you stop pushing and you start flowing. And that's where real freedom lives. You might have come here looking to manifest maybe one thing. Could be a home, a relationship, healing, money. And you will get those things if you follow this system. But what you will gain that is far more powerful is clarity. Clarity of who you are, what you want, and why you are here. Because once clarity settles, then everything else just aligns naturally. The Vedantic text that I studied said it thousands of years ago. When consciousness knows itself, the universe bows to it. And that's not poetry, it's law. And now you have seen how that law works through state, imagination, emotion, and action. Through coherence made visible. And from this point on, practice is simple. Each morning, the moment that you wake up and before you go to sleep, take 5 minutes of stillness. Notice your state. Let an image rise. Feel what it represents and carry that feeling into your day. Not forcing, not chasing, just coherence lived. And you'll get things wrong sometimes. Sometimes you will slip up, and that's fine. Just come back to the breath, to the gaze, to the awareness of being. And each time that you return, the field remembers you faster. Each time that you hold steady, reality reorganizes a little more. And that's how we rebuild the world. One coherent human at a time. Because when you change your signal, you don't just change your life. You change what life expresses through you. So before this video ends, I want you to take one slow, deep breath. Feel the space around you. That stillness is the field. And it's listening. And now it recognizes you. My name is Dejorn Goldsmith, and this is Manifestation Mechanics. And this is where creation begins, with intention and awareness. I'll see you in the next video.